شو هالكراود الحلو. Thank you all for taking the time تكونوا معنا اليوم and be with us. And whether you are here to support a cause or learn something new or just to feed your curiosity, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. And before I start, I would like to ask you all a question. What do you think happiness is? How do you define it? And how do you think it can be measured? By wealth, success, relationships maybe? Think about it. Because these questions have been on the mind of human history since the dawn of human history. So trust me when I tell you, I've watched every single TED Talk on happiness, so I'm very humbled to be on the stage today. Because I'm about to tell you and share my story on how I found my happiness and how you can find it too. And after all the searching and reading, little did I know that my happiness will be found in something that my father has been telling me ever since I was a child. This is my father, Abu al-Hakam, who's actually going to kill me for posting this picture of him. But it's going to be worth it, I promise. And ever since I was a child, he would tell me that I will never experience true happiness until I learn to give without expecting anything in return. And what my father said wasn't just some random fatherly wisdom. It's actually been backed up by some serious science. In a study that links, actually, the relationship between altruism and mental health, researchers were able to prove that giving help was a more important predictor of better reported mental health than actually receiving it. And not just that. In the latest World Happiness Report in 2023, you can see it here on the screen, how different acts of kindness actually improve life satisfaction significantly. And in fact, this I found very fascinating. Psychiatrists nowadays are prescribing mental health, community work, social work, and volunteering to their patients' better well-being, and they're referring to it as something called social prescribing. But if you think that my father had a good point there, wait until you hear what his mother, my grandmother, told him when he was a child. This is my grandmother. Her name was Qudsiyya, which means from Jerusalem. My grandmother was indigenous to Palestine, and she was displaced twice in the 90 years that she's lived due to the 1948 war on Palestine. She was a force of nature. She found joy in the company of people and in communities, in cooking for them and telling her stories. She, to me, was the utmost definition of wisdom, strength, and warmth altogether. And she would always say that with the absence of people, there's no life, that even the most beautiful places lose their charm in the absence of people. الجنة من دون ناس ما بتنداس. And that's a lesson that shaped the way I look at the world today, because it taught me the true meaning of community and the silent and quiet power of people. And this is where the first part of my story begins. This is an aerial shot of Al Hussein refugee camp in Jordan, and it's home to 2 million Palestinian refugees, mostly descendants of those displaced by the 1948 war. In fact, there are 12 camps in Jordan, 12 official ones, and they accommodate over 2 million refugees. In the heart of Al Hussein refugee camp, my family and I established the Orphan Child Welfare Association. And it's essentially a creative space for arts and creative exploration for kids aged between 5 and 18-year-olds. And it's like my family found their sense of happiness through creating a space for children who went through the same alter experiences as they have, but in a different time. Jiu-Jitsu has been one of the greatest achievements at the center, and it's led by Master Sami Jamal at MAT 05. And trust me, martial arts hasn't only taught our kids discipline, teamwork, self-defense, or even self-confidence. It gave them something far bigger. It gave them opportunities that would later change their lives. Take Yusuf, for example. He's a very special kid. Yusuf is 8 years old. We flew him to Abu Dhabi. He left the camp for the first time in his life to compete in a world championship. And he casually returned 3 days later with the gold. Yusuf actually just needed someone to believe in him. He just needed a chance. And this kid is going places, so do remember his name. And it's not just like boys. These girls have been empowering each other. Some of them became jiu-jitsu instructors, paying for their college tuitions, earning enough to support their families, or honestly just to build their independence. And what's beautiful is that they're coming back to teach the younger generation of girls what they've learned. They've been paying it forward all along. So it's been like a full cycle of strength that started on the mat in the heart of a refugee camp. Music and dabke and theater have been a healing journey for so many of the kids. It was like providing them with a creative outlet, a break from the harsh conditions that they face every single day. But also, it gave them a passion, a purpose, and a drive. This is how everybody came together. This is how everyone used their craft to give back to our community. This is how everyone came together. We've had musicians, we've had doctors, psychologists, neuroscientists, chefs, all come together to give back to our community. This always gets me emotional. It's probably my favorite part to talk about today. Because this is where I get to tell you how these girls walk no less than 1 hour every single day to get to the community center, to attend to their jiu-jitsu training, basketball practice, music sessions, or honestly sometimes just to spend time together. And it made me realize that these girls have been teaching me something about happiness and how joy is found in the simplest things and how much their lives have been changed by the community center. Thank you. I think this was the day that I cracked the code and understood the true essence behind my father and grandmother's life lessons. Because this is the day I realized that these girls think I'm changing their lives, but little did they know they have been changing mine. They've reshaped my priorities, where I spend my time, where I pour my energy. It's the day I realized that altruism has been benefiting my well-being just by being there for these girls. And because I believe deeply in the impact of the programs and how much it's been transforming the kids, I decided to embark on one of the most challenging journeys of my life. I decided to climb Everest Base Camp to raise funds for the center. And this was back in May. And Everest Base Camp, for those who don't know, is 5,400 meters above sea level. And it wasn't just a challenge for myself. I walked each step to raise their dreams and their voices, and it was a symbol of hope and resilience and justice. And their stories, their voices, and their dreams will soon be shared on a documentary series that will tell the story of how their lives are being transformed. But let me tell you what I discovered throughout the way. That altruism doesn't necessarily have to be limited to helping children or refugees. I yet again went back to all the lessons from my grandmother and my father to combine another passion of mine with leaving an impact. And what I found, the information that I found along the way, was very surprising, almost absurd, that I'll be sharing with you. Did you know that 8 million pieces of plastic find their way into our oceans every day? Let me simplify it for you. It's like emptying a truckload of plastic into the ocean every single minute. And did you know that plastic makes 80% of marine debris, and that 100,000 marine mammals, turtles, and 1 million seabirds are killed by plastic pollution annually? And take this. All this plastic is eventually broken down into microplastic. And these little particles have been found everywhere. Scientists have found these particles in breast milk, in the fabric that we wear, and in 2023, they found microplastics in the human heart. And not just that, plastic contains at least 10,000 types of chemicals. And by 2050, probably the saddest piece of information I'll give you today, if this issue is not resolved, all the plastic in the ocean will outweigh every single fish in the sea. So, what did I do with all this information that I found? I teamed up with this incredible human here, Saif, the superhuman. And together, we launched an initiative. We gave it a name. It's now called Project C. And its aim was to preserve marine life and coral reefs in the southern coast of Aqaba in Jordan. And we do so by arranging cleanup dives and raising awareness through education. عندي مشكلة بالكليكر. Oh. We kickstarted Project C in June of 2021 and have so far completed 46 cleanup campaigns, engaging over 600 volunteers from 50 different nationalities, which we like to keep track of, and 50% of which were females, which I'm especially very proud of. Thank you. Our volunteers were able to remove over 300,000 pieces of waste, weighing around 13 tons, and 70% of that waste was actually plastic. This is just a small sample of the waste that we collect every single cleanup. I'm pretty sure by now, we have fans. I'm pretty sure by now you're all wondering what we do with all the plastic that we collect. Well, I wish I could tell you that we recycle it and move on, but we needed to be a bit more creative. We spoke to a lot of environmental artists, specialists in the field, but eventually came up with an idea, which was to create these giant fish-like sculptures and place them in public beaches and private beaches. Saad and Subhi. And what they do is they help us collect all the waste from all the cleanups and the beach cleanups, and then collaborate with local entities to build furniture, like the pieces you see right here. And these are made out of solid plastic and can withstand very, very harsh conditions. But a year into the cleanups and doing Project C, Saif and I realized that the cleanups on their own were not sufficient. We needed to dig deeper and tap into the cultural side of it, the educational side and the awareness side. So we launched an intensive school program. We worked with students on their graduation projects, on exhibitions. We gave them engaging lectures, and we read them stories. In fact, we just launched our first children's book, and it sold over 1,000 copies. Yes. And it tells the story of Project C through the eyes of marine animals. And the main character is this juvenile octopus, which we actually saved on the very first cleanup that we did. And a fun fact is, octopuses actually have been recognized as sentient beings. And what does that mean? It means that they can feel warmth and joy and fear and even heartbreak. And on my very last dive, just a few weeks ago, I had one of the most emotional encounters in my life, and I want to show you what happened. I basically had my very own My Octopus Teacher moment. At first, she was frightened, and then that's when we realized she was tangled on a hook. But the moment she realized we're trying to help her, she stopped resisting. She surrendered, and that's when I felt an incredible connection, like two worlds meeting for a brief, silent conversation. This is how all the sub-communities started forming themselves, and everybody wanting to help in their own ways. We've had kids clean up, sending us pictures with them cleaning up the beaches and public parks. We started empowering women, and boy, how powerful it is to empower women in such a male-dominant sport. We've started empowering local communities, brands, ideas, dive centers, markets. And this is what Project Z turned into, a massive, incredible community that are now family for Saif and myself. They're a constant reminder of why we do what we do every single day. And lastly, I will leave you with a small message on how kindness is contagious. This man right here, this is the man that raised me up. And he's feeding bees just for the sake of being kind. So if there's one thing to take away, remember that happiness is found in the simplest things. And what if actually happiness was found in the act of giving? Thank you.